Good morning, everyone. It's Amber here, reading the last parts, because I already read the last chapter, so there's just extra information on what was the Battle of Gettysburg. So, I thought this was a pretty fun book and had some really cool pictures in there and everything. If you hadn't watched all the other videos prior, you should go back and watch some of those videos from chapter 1 on this. I also have other books that I've been reading, like Who Was Anne Frank, Who Was Helen Keller, that kind of stuff, and Who Was Abraham Lincoln. I already read those if you want to go check those videos out for each chapters. And I do have some more books that I'll be reading as well. I got some in the mail not too long ago, or should I say I got it through Scholastic Books. All right, so here we go. I'm reading the last information out of this book, the Gettysburg Address. 407 years ago, a fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Should be men and women, but I think that's what it meant. Now we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation, or any nation so conceived and so dedicated, can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives, that this nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a large sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or subtract. The world will little note, nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is, for us, the living, rather to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us, the living, to be dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measure of devotion, that we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain, that this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. I think that this Gettysburg Address is actually really cool. Knowing that it is the election year, and yesterday it was voting day, it almost fits in pretty well. Like, they should have to do something with the Gettysburg Address again. I mean, I know we're not in that same type of war, but we still have a lot of stuff, you know? All right. Here we go. This might be, I don't know. I didn't read it yet, but the title is A Soldier's Letter Home. Dear parents, brothers, and sisters, I received letter CK 19 last evening, in which you told me of the second box which had sent by mail. I'm glad you have sent the second box off. There is some things in it I want to use. I have seen nothing yet of either boxes. I told you in my last letter that I was sick. I am now well again and able do duty. I had king of fever and ague. We are to have a brigade bakery. They are at work today building it. I hope it will soon be finished and put in use. We have now to make up our flour rations in some shape to eat ourselves, and is not a very pleasant job. The weather today is beautiful, the sun coming out warm and pleasant, and the boys are out warming themselves. We send out details every day if the weather will allow to work on a fortification which they are throwing up on the railroad about 2 miles from us. I have not yet been out, but expect to take my turn before many days. One thing, the boys do not hurt themselves to work, I can assure you, they know. And for a move of the Grand Army in Rochester, We are not in any hurry here about moving on to Richmond. I do not think those who are so fast to urge us in would be either if they were here with us. The soldiers are not so eager to fight as many suppose because they do not see it that it will end the war. The old 13th will soon leave us there. Yeah, that's how they wrote back then. It kind of hurt my mouth, but it happens, right? Very little respect for the reg. You had better use the greenbacks I left to fix up the house. They are getting most too plenty. You'll have a sure thing of getting the worth of them. Still, you can do as you think best. If you do, keep some of for yourselves to live on, or you can use it on the barn, just as you think. Best from your son, with love to all, Charlie. Charlie Spitzberger, Union Private from Company D of the 140th New Yorker Volunteer Infantry, who died in the Battle of Gettysburg, and the uncle of the author's grandfather. That's pretty cool. So the author of this book is Jim O'Connor. So this is Jim O'Connor's. Okay, so it'd be, I'm not sure. So Jim O'Connor's grandfather, this was his uncle. It's pretty cool. Okay, so the timeline of the Gettysburg, okay? So 1860, Abraham Lincoln is elected president, and South Carolina secedes from the Union. 1861, 10 more southern states secede from the Union. Civil War begins. 1863, Emancipation Proclamation freeing slaves in the rebel states takes effect on January 1st. Battle of Gettysburg begins on July 1st. Confederate troops leave Gettysburg on July 4th. Lincoln delivers the Gettysburg Address on November 19th. Oh, that's coming up, guys. Today is November 4th, so November 19th would be the 1863, so it'll be the anniversary. How cool. 1865, Lee surrenders at Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. Lincoln is assassinated in Washington, D.C. Reconstruction begins under President Andrew Johnson. The 13th Amendment is passed, abolishing slavery. 1870, General Lee dies. 1872, General Meade dies. In 1895, Congress established the Gettysburg National Military Park. So that was the battles of Gettysburg. So now here's the timeline of the world. 1787, they started off early. Three-fifths compromise. The North and South agree that 3/5 of states' slave population will count for representation and tax purposes is reached. 1793, cotton gin is invented, increasing demand for slaves in the South. 1831, slave Nat Turner's rebellion takes place in Virginia, where more than 50 white inhabitants are killed before Turner's capture. 1840, most African Americans in the North are free by this time. 1860, Second Opium War concludes in China. Opium. 1866, first permanent transatlantic telegraph cable is successfully laid. 1867, Alfred Nobel receives patent for dynamite. Ooh, Alfred Nobel patented dynamite. Nice. The Alaskan Territory is purchased from Russia. 1869, first transcontinental railroad is completed in the United States, and Suez Canal in Egypt opens. I don't know if I said that right, I apologize. 1876, Alexander Graham Bell invents the telephone. In 1881, Tuskegee Institute, a historically black university, is founded. See, I like these kind of timelines. It's kind of neat, especially if, for geography or world history or something. Not even world history, United States history or whatever. All right, and that is the end of this book. I read it all to the end. So I'll be back in the next video with a new book. I hope you guys all have a great day. See you later.